That being said, welcome to the webinar. Today's webinar, we're going to cover all of the new features in Zoomtext 10. So we're going to give you a rundown of all the new features. My name is Derek Bovey. I work as a product specialist here at AI Squared in the sales and marketing department. And here is a brief overview of some of the things that we're going to cover. Again, these are all the new features in Zoomtext 10. We're going to be demoing these to you live over the internet. So we'll show you the background reader, which will allow you to listen to text while you perform other tasks. Zoomtext Recorder, which can convert text into an audio file. Zoomtext Camera, which leverages an external USB webcam to view printed material, as well as show you an enhanced web finder, which we did have in Zoomtext 9.1. We had the web finder, but it's been completely redesigned to make it really easy to search and navigate on the web. Then we have a really cool new feature for App Reader called Read from Pointer, which is going to make it a lot easier to start App Reader on the web right where you want it to begin. And then we'll open it up finally for question and answer at the end. All right, so with all that being said, we're going to jump right into the live demo. So I'm just going to switch over here. And before I start Zoomtext, one of the things I do want to mention, when you install Zoomtext 10, you're going to get an icon on your desktop that says Zoomtext Videos. And if you double-click on that, that'll bring you to a page on our website that has all of the videos that we created for Zoomtext 10. So there's a general What's New video, and you have a feature-specific video for each one of the new features. So if you ever want to refer back to some of these things after the webinar, you can always check out the videos. They're available at any time. One other thing, too, Zoomtext 10 can coexist with Zoomtext 9.1. So you have the icon for Zoomtext 9.1 on my desktop as well. If you switch between the two products, it'll just prompt you to restart in between. So no problem with coexisting on the same machine. So I'm going to go ahead and double-click on the Zoomtext 10 icon, and you can see the Zoomtext 10 splash screen comes up, and then we're presented with our Zoomtext user interface, which looks a lot like what you're used to in Zoomtext 9.1, but one of the new things here is the Tools tab, and this is going to house where most of the new features are. So you can see here the camera features, the listening tools, recorder, and background reader, and image reader, which I'm going to cover later on in the webinar. We're going to start with background reader, and what background reader allows you to do is take text that you've copied to the clipboard and listen to it while you perform other tasks. Now, the traditional reading tools in Zoomtext, App Reader, and Doc Reader, when you're in those tools, you're not able to do other things. You're not able to open another application or maybe answer emails or surf to other web pages. So you're kind of stuck in that reading tool mode. With background reader, it allows you to listen to the text that you've copied to the clipboard and do other tasks. So there will be a toolbar that pops up for background reader that lets you control its playback while allowing you to multitask. So first thing I'm going to do is get some text copied to the clipboard. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our blog. Actually, I'm going to open up Firefox here and go to our blog page, which is aisquared.com/blog. All right, and once we're here, I'm just going to left-click and select some text with my mouse. I'm just going to get a paragraph here. I could select the whole thing, but I'll make this easy. And then I'm going to copy it either by pressing Control-C on the keyboard or right-clicking and choosing Copy. All right, now that I have that text copied, I can go back to Zoomtext and click on the background reader button. Now, before I do this, I just want to explain to you what I'm going to do after I click the button. Since Zoomtext is going to be reading, I don't want to try and speak over it, but essentially I'll click this button. It'll start reading the text. There will be a toolbar to control background reader visible on the screen, and then I'm just going to go to navigate to another web page just to show you that I can be doing other things while background reader is reading.
We've blogged previously about dining in the dark, but there is a similar experience called Dialogue in the Dark. Sighted individuals are guided through a series of darkened galleries by a person who is blind.
Okay, so I just paused background reader. I just wanted to show you that while that was reading, I opened Google News. You can see that I was able to scroll around and look at the news articles. So the whole idea behind this feature is that you're able to multitask. I can be listening to something while performing other tasks. So you see here, this is the play pause button to play and pause the reading. The restart button will restart the reading from the beginning.
We've blogged previously about dining in the dark, but
okay. And this capture button here, if I've copied any text to the clipboard since I opened background reader, that will read the most current information in the clipboard. So let me copy some text here. All right, I'll just copy this and then click on the capture button.
President Barack Obama makes a statement on new minimum wage and overtime.
Okay, so you can see that that was reading this text that I had just copied from the Google News page. So, you know, if you've opened Background Reader and since copied something to the clipboard, clicking that capture button will read the most current information. Now, you also have navigation buttons here to navigate to the previous or next sentence as well as the previous or next word. So, you know, since this isn't an audio file that you can just fast forward through, you can move in groups of words or sentences with these navigation controls. And then the exit button will close Background Reader. There are hotkey equivalents for all of those buttons, and you can find those by going to the Settings menu in Zoomtext, going down to Hotkeys, and in the hotkey group, there's a group for Background Reader. So you have hotkey equivalents or keyboard shortcuts for all of those functions that you saw on the toolbar that are listed here. Now, one other thing that might help you with Background Reader is using the hotkeys to start it. So if we go back to our blog page, and you notice before I left-clicked, selected some text, copied it, and then clicked on the Background Reader button. Well, I can do all of this in pretty much one step. So first thing you want to do is select the text that you want to read. Now, instead of copying it to the clipboard by pressing Control-C, there's a hotkey command to start Background Reader reading immediately from your selection. And that hotkey is caps lock S. So if I press that, it's going to immediately start reading, copy the text for me automatically, and then start Background Reader. So let's try that.
We've blogged previously about dining in the dark, but there is a similar experience called...
Okay, so you can see in that case I didn't have to copy it, then start Background Reader. I was able to launch it in one step instead of two. So just kind of a quicker way to use Background Reader with the hotkeys. So again, the whole idea behind this feature allows you to multitask. You could be listening to a presentation or something, a text that you've copied and taking notes. You can be listening to an email while you read the morning news articles on Google News. So again, a lot of power and flexibility with this tool. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is Zoomtext Recorder. And Zoomtext Recorder works similarly to Background Reader in that it takes text that you've copied to the clipboard and records it out to an audio file. So you can take that audio file and either listen to it on your computer or sync it to a mobile device like an iPhone or an iPod. It also lets you export directly to iTunes and Windows Media Player, which I'm going to show you here in just a minute. So first thing we need to do is copy text to the clipboard. So what I'm going to do here is go back to the desktop and open a Word document. All right, so I've got a Word document here. This is the Gettysburg Address, and I'm just going to select all the text in this document. So I'm scrolling down, copy it by pressing Control-C or right-clicking and choosing Copy. Okay, now that we've done that, I'll go back to Zoomtext and click on the Recorder button. And this opens a new dialog, all right, with a bunch of different recording options. First of which we can choose our destination. You can save it out to a file in either WAV or Windows Media Audio format. Or, like I mentioned before, you can export it directly to iTunes or Windows Media Player. If you export it to iTunes, it'll get encoded as an MP3. iTunes is a built-in MP3 encoder. Zoomtext does not because of royalty and licensing reasons, but if you export it to iTunes directly, it will go in there as an MP3. Windows Media Player will get imported as a Windows Media Audio file. So I'm going to show you how it works with iTunes today. Another thing to mention is when you export to either iTunes or Windows Media Player, we'll actually automatically create our own playlist called Zoomtext Recorder, which has all of the recordings that you've created with Zoomtext in that one playlist, which makes it really easy to sync to your mobile device. Basically in iTunes, you just check a box to sync all those recordings. Really straightforward and easy. So here we can rename our trek, so I'm just going to call it the Gettysburg Address. All right. And then I could simply click on the Record Text button to have that start recording. Now before I do that, a few other things. You can see a preview of the text that you copied here, which is all the text that I've copied is just visible in this window. The Listen to Preview button will play about the first 400 characters of text so you can get a quick preview of what it sounds like. Capture Clipboard, that works the same as that capture button in Background Reader. If you've copied any text to the clipboard since you opened Recorder, that will replace it with the most current information. And lastly, there's a Show Synthesizer Settings button. And if you click on this, here's where you can choose what synthesizer and what voice you want your recording to be in. So right now, my default voice in Zoomtext is NeoSpeech Paul. So I can change that to Kate if I wanted to, or you could even choose from another synthesizer that's installed on the machine, like Microsoft Anna, for example. So for now, I'm going to record this out as NeoSpeech Kate. You can also adjust the rate, pitch if applicable to the synthesizer, as well as volume. So now I'm just going to click that record button, and you're going to see a progress bar show up on screen that's showing me that it's recording. And when it's finished, it's going to automatically open iTunes and play a tone to indicate that a new track's been imported. Okay, so you can hear that tone. And here we have iTunes open here. I have a few other recordings that I had done for previous webinars and a couple of our videos. So this is the most recent recording. Now, if you look here, it's in its own playlist called Zoomtext Recorder. And if I choose it and click on play.
The Gettysburg Address. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation.
You can hear that that was recorded out with NeoSpeech Kate. So really quick and easy. I mean, I think that document's like 3/4 of a page or maybe a page and a half, something like that. The recording's 1 minute and 30 seconds. It took about 10 seconds maybe to record. So really fast and very convenient. Like I said, you know, you could, if you had your iPod plugged in, all you have to do is choose to sync music and then check the playlist that you want to sync, and every time you connect it to your computer, it'll update. If there were new tracks in here, it automatically put them on your iPod or your iPhone. Now, another thing I want to show you, we talked about hotkeys with Background Reader. I'm going to show you the same thing with Recorder. So I'm going to open a little bit of a longer document, which happens to be a chapter of a book. This is Alice in Wonderland. It's just a free ebook that I found online. So this is a 6-page document here. And one great thing you can do with the Recorder is, much like Background Reader, you can also multitask with it. So while it's recording, I can be doing other things. So if I had a long document, I'm not precluded from doing other things with Zoomtext or on my computer while it records. So here's how you would use hotkeys to record a longer document. First thing you can do is hit Control-A to select all the text in the document. All right, that highlights everything. And then we can start Recorder from our selection, again, eliminating the step to copy like we did in Background Reader by using a hotkey. In this case, it's Control *S to open the Recorder dialog. And here you see here's all the text in this document. All right. So I'm going to save it out to iTunes. I'll name this Alice in Wonderland. Okay. Got that there. And then I'll click on Record. Now, while it's recording, all right, I mentioned you can be multitasking. So I could be on the web here and using App Reader to be reading something.
We blogged previously about dining in the dark, but here.
Okay, so you can see that I'm able to use all my reading tools. You know, I could be on the web or, you know, responding to emails and something like that while Recorder is recording. So it doesn't have, you know, an apparent performance impact on Zoomtext. And again, lets you multitask. You could be recording out a 300-page document. You don't want to sit there and wait for that whole thing to finish. But since you can multitask, you're able to do that. And it looks like this is just about done. There we go. We hear iTunes play the tone that a new track has been imported. And there's Alice in Wonderland right there. 15-minute recording. Took under a minute for us to record it. General rule of thumb is about maybe 15 to 20 seconds per page of text. It's probably a little bit less than that. But again, the one thing I want to stress here is it's fast, and you can be doing other things while it's recording. So, you know, like I said, if you're recording out a book, you don't have to sit there and wait for an hour while it records a 500-page book. You can still be using your computer. So let's take a listen to this real quick.
Conceived in liberty and dedicated to the
Whoops, I was still on the Gettysburg Address file, so I got to double-click on this one.
Project Gutenberg's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. This ebook is for the use of anyone, anywhere.
Okay, so you can just hear that was the beginning of the ebook with like the copyright information. But So that was that whole chapter, about 6 pages, 15 minutes worth of recorded audio that was done in less than a minute. So this is a really easy to use feature, and it's a really powerful feature because you can essentially take any electronic text, record it out to an audio file to take with you on your mobile device. Normally you see this kind of functionality in dedicated softwares that probably retail around the $100+ range. And this is just one of the features in Zoomtext 10. So I think this is something that a lot of people are going to appreciate, especially if you're someone that likes to listen to podcasts and things like that on your iPod or your iPhone. This is opening up a whole new world of more information that you can be listening to. So that's Zoomtext Recorder. All right, I'll go ahead and close out of this. And the next thing we're going to show you here is the Zoomtext Camera feature. Now, before I launch it here, I just want to show you AI Squared is selling our own camera and stand bundle, and I want to show you a picture of what that looks like so you can get an idea of what my setup looks like next to me here. All right, so here's a picture of the camera stand and the camera. The camera is mounted on the end of our camera stand via a threaded tripod screw. We're selling the Logitech C615 webcam. It's a high-definition autofocus webcam. And the stands that we're selling, they clamp to the edge of your desk. They're custom-made by a company here in the U.S. And it's got a 24-inch flexible arm neck that the camera attaches to. So it's very easy to position it above printed material. And we have in the picture here, this is just the product box of the camera, but you could fit something underneath it like a cereal box or an encyclopedia, something very big. And you want to position the camera about 4 to 6 inches away from your subject material so that you can get a really crisp image and be able to read it. And you would use this a lot like you would use a traditional CCTV, where you're moving the subject matter or the printed material underneath the camera. Those CCTVs generally come with an XY table where you can slide them along. In this case, you would just be moving the document on your desk, the surface of your desk underneath the camera. The camera and stand package retails for $149. I can't recommend it enough. If you have your own camera, for the most part, any USB webcam is going to work with this feature. You definitely want a high-definition webcam. Otherwise, your image quality really isn't going to look that good. But the other thing about the stand is you don't have to hold the camera above what you're looking at. If you were to try and hold that camera above, your subject material, look at your computer monitor, be using your keyboard or your mouse, that's going to be a nightmare to try and do that and keep your arm from getting tired the entire time while you try and read something. So this camera and stand package was made specifically for this purpose, and I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't look into it. Really compact, lightweight package that weighs, I think, under 2 pounds with the camera, so you can take it with you. Doesn't require an external power source. So this is a really affordable and portable alternative to a traditional or a conventional CCTV, and I think you're really going to be impressed with the image quality that you get with this, and I'm going to show you that right now. All right, so there are 2 different modes with the camera. Full screen mode will have our camera view take up the entire screen, and docked will show a split screen view, so half of our screen is the camera's view, the other half is our desktop with Zoomtext. So I'll show you docked first. Camera. When you open this, you're also going to have a toolbar here that allows you to manipulate the camera. So I just have a newspaper article underneath my camera right now, and at its most basic, you can just click the Zoom Plus button to enlarge it and make it bigger and easier to read. Now, one of the things I want to point out is that I am in a very, very poor lighting situation, and I've done it intentionally to show you some of the power of this feature. So I'm in a room that has overhead lighting, but the half of the room where our camera is set up on a desk has no overhead lighting above it, and it's pretty dark this time of the afternoon at this time of year in the winter. So I'm getting some pretty bad shadows being cast, and if I were to even try and read that with my eyes visually, it's kind of dark. So the first thing I want to show you are our enhancements before we talk about the different views. The enhancements are really the most powerful part of this feature. Number one, we have 6 different high contrast color schemes. These are two color schemes that you would see in something like a handheld video magnifier like the I Love You, which we resell. So the first one is black on white. All right, and remember I said we were in a very bad lighting condition. So you see that shadow at the left-hand side of the screen, and you might be thinking, man, you know, you said that this feature was really good. What the heck? That doesn't look very good. Well, like I said, you can do one of two things. Number one, you can get in a better lit room, or you can use this clarity control here. And if I click on this and choose to enable the brightness and contrast settings, this allows me to adjust the brightness and contrast of the camera. So by doing this, I can actually, even in a poorly lit room, alter the camera such that I get great image quality. So I'm going to drive up the brightness. And you see as I do that, we're getting rid of that shadow on the left-hand side. Okay? Now, I can't do it too much because it starts eliminating the text on the right-hand side. You see how we have uneven lighting here. So if I drag it to about there and drive our contrast up, now you see how dark the black text is and how light that and how bright white that background is. So now if I zoom in, look how easy that text is to read. That's crystal clear. And I'm zoomed in at about 4 or 5 times. So this is just using digital magnification with an off-the-shelf HD webcam, and you're getting text quality that would rival something that costs, you know, 5 to 10 times what this does, what this package does. And I'm in a really poorly lit room. I mean, I know I've said that a number of times, but I just use those clarity controls to help adjust that situation. So there's black on white. I'm going to cycle through the other modes so you can see the different colors. You have blue on white, white on black, yellow on black, white on blue, and finally yellow on blue. So those are the 6 color modes that you have. And if I zoom out a little bit, I just want to show you what this would look like if we turn this clarity control off. Look how poor that looks now before I optimize it. You see that harsh shadow on the left-hand side. Makes a world of difference with, and it may look different with different color filters as well. But definitely makes a huge difference in the readability of the text, which you can see there. Okay. Another thing I wanted to mention, you might notice a little bit of pulsing every now and then when I stop moving the newspaper. That's actually the camera adjusting its autofocus. So if it detects movement, it's usually trying to adjust its focus. So you can turn on a manual focus by clicking on the focus button here. And if I click Enable Manual Camera Focus, I can drag the slide bar to get it in focus and then click OK. As long as your focal length away from what, you know, however far the camera is from your printed material, as long as that stays the same, you know, you don't have to change the focus. So you can lock it in the manual focus. That way it won't do that kind of pulsing that you see when it's stationary. Again, you can see how great, you know, this is really clear and easy to read. And I'm on a newspaper with about probably 8-point font. Again, about 4 inches away from it. One thing to mention too, you know, I said that 4 to 6 inches is probably a good rule of thumb. If you get any further, you're going to have to be using these Zoom Plus buttons and go in a lot. And once you get to about, you know, 6 to 8x magnification, that's when you start getting a lot of image degradation. You see all this stair-stepping of the text and things like that. This is still pretty easy to read, but if you were further out and had to rely on that digital zoom, it's going to be kind of tough on your eyes. So rule of thumb here, get the camera in as close as you can first, then rely on the zoom buttons to get in a little bit closer. So you don't want to be like 1.5 feet away from what you're trying to read. You want to be pretty close to it so that you don't have to strictly rely on digital magnification. That's going to, you know, cause the image to not look as good as it could. All right, so we showed you the enhancements, the different color filtering modes, the clarity, which again is going to be indispensable unless you're in the most perfect of lighting situations. Now, one place where you might not want the clarity control on is if you're reading something that's in normal, is in like a full color document. So if I go back to normal color here and put my hand underneath this, you're going to see how skewed the brightness and contrast is. You know, there's what it would look like normally, and yeah, we're pretty close here. So So the only time that clarity control might be a nuisance is if you're reading something that's in full color, that you need to keep the colors natural on screen. So just keep that in mind. Now the different views that we have available. If I started the camera up and my newspaper looked like this, it was upside down. Well, I can do one of two things. I can just turn the newspaper right side up, or you can use this rotate button, which will rotate the image 90 degrees in all four, in one direction, but all four, you can go 360 degrees. So if I click on it twice, hey, now it's right side up. And if it was sideways, you could obviously click on it as well. So just a nice little, feature there. I mean, if you're lazy, you can use the rotate button. But really that's for if you have a setup where your camera lens is upside down, and maybe you're in a cramped desk environment and you can't get the paper right side up, you can use that rotate button to alleviate that problem. All right, so the next thing we have here, I'm kind of going right to left instead of left to right, but the docked button will alter our split screen view. So right now, Zoomtext Camera is taking up the top half of our screen. If I click the button,
camera vertical split,
it's going to split it vertically, so it's on the right half of our screen. So if I continue to click this, basically it's going to show us 4 different docked views that we have. So we have docked right,
camera horizontal split,
docked bottom,
camera vertical split,
docked left, and then finally back to docked top.
Camera horizontal split.
Okay, so you have a little bit of control as to where you want your camera view to show up. So if you're writing something in a Word document, for example, you might want to have it split vertically. Again, depending on what you're doing on your computer half of the screen, so to speak. Next thing I'm going to show you is the full screen view. And if I click on this, first thing you're going to notice is you're prompted with this dialog box that comes up, basically informing you that you're activating the camera in full view and that the toolbar won't be available. So we present to you all the hotkeys that you have for the camera. There's a long, extensive list here. I haven't even memorized all these, so I'll just tell you basically these hotkeys, all those buttons that you saw me manipulating on the toolbar, the focus, the clarity controls, color filters, there's hotkey equivalents for everything. So you don't need the toolbar in view to do it. So that's what's listed here, all those hotkeys. So we just want to alert you that, hey, once you're in this mode, you're not going to see your toolbar. Most basic thing to remember, if you're in the full screen mode and you want to exit, just hit the escape key. So, and you can also choose to not show this message again if you don't want to see it. So I'll click continue.
Camera full.
All right, we're in full screen mode. And again, I have hotkeys. It looks like we're a little out of focus here. So there we go. I can manually adjust my focus. So now we're out of focus. I'll bring it back in focus. Okay, I could be zooming in. I could be cycling through my color filters. Let's see, I could be adjusting my brightness and contrast. So there I'm decreasing the brightness and then increasing. We can also do the same thing with our contrast as well. So again, just hotkey equivalents for everything that I showed you on that toolbar, since it's taking up your entire screen. And then if we hit escape, back to our desktop. Okay. All right, so that's the Zoomtext Camera feature. I think it's really a revolutionary feature to have something to allow you to view printed material right on screen, right in Zoomtext, and for under $150. So really great package. We did a lot of research into this feature as well as the camera stand. So anyone that wants to read, their mail or their bills, a phone book, this is a great solution for that. So if you want to see a little bit more, we've got the videos online that will also show you a little bit more on the feature. But I think Zoomtext Camera is something that got a little bit of something for everyone. All right, so moving on, before we get to Web Finder and the new App Reader mode, I want to mention Image Reader, which you can see here in this heading in these grayed out buttons. Image Reader is a forthcoming companion product to Zoomtext 10, the magnifier reader version of Zoomtext 10. This is going to be released sometime next year, and this will be a document camera and OCR software package with Zoomtext that allows you to take a picture of printed material and have it read back to you. So again, this will come with a package that contains a document camera that's suited specifically for taking pictures of documents that you can then OCR and have read back to you. So we'll have a little bit more information on that in the coming months. Plan on releasing it sometime next year, so look for a little bit more information on that in the next couple of months here. So that's something we're really excited about, and I think a lot of people are going to like once we get it finished and a little bit more information out there. All right, now before I show you Web Finder, I want to show you this new tool for App Reader, or Mode, I guess you would call it. Traditionally, when you use App Reader on the web, okay, this is how it works. You would start the tool or hit the hotkey, and it jumps to the top left corner of the page. So we're on the Home button right now. Most likely, we don't want to start reading there. We don't want to read all these labels across the top of the page. We want to start down here. Okay, so your experience is start the tool, scroll down, click. All right, so which can be a little annoying. I mean, if you were down here and hit it, and it jumped back up, and then you had to click down here, all right, kind of takes you away from what you're doing. So what we've done now, the standard hotkey start App Reader is Alt-Shift-A. So what we have now is this feature called Read from Pointer. So instead of Alt-Shift-A, you're holding down Alt and Shift and then left-clicking with your mouse. And App Reader is going to start from whatever word you click on. So I'll hold down Alt and Shift, I'm going to click on the word Experiences.
Experiences. Without familiar site clues, visitors learn to...
Okay, so you can see that this is very simple. Hold down Alt and Shift and left-click.
Visitors will experience.
So just a smoother experience, quicker way to launch App Reader that can immediately get you going from where your mouse pointer focus is. So again, Alt-Shift, left-click.
Reviewed by Tech Access Weekly.
Okay. So I know people that use App Reader a lot are really going to appreciate that feature. So a lot of our longtime users, I think, might like that feature more than anything else in the product. So wanted to make sure we mentioned that. All right, so the last new feature in Zoomtext 10 is the Enhanced Web Finder. Some of you may remember Web Finder in Zoomtext 9.1, which was kind of limited back then. Basically, it would show you a list of links on a web page, and you could filter through those links. Web Finder has been completely revamped, rewritten for Zoomtext 10. Not only does it allow you to search a web page for specific items, but you can filter on various types of web element types. Web page elements, such as not only links, but headings, controls, forms, tables, and lists. I think I got all of them. So this is a much more powerful way to both navigate and search the web. So I'm going to show you how this works. We have a web page open. It's our blog, and I'm going to click on the Web Finder button. We see that the Web Finder interface opens, and we have a number of different buttons here. Might be a little bit overwhelming at first, so I'm going to show you the most basic way to use this. The easiest way to use Web Finder and the easiest way to think about it is like the Find feature in your browser. When you hit Control F and type something in Firefox, it shows you search results on a page, which is a great feature, but with Zoomtext, it doesn't automatically highlight and move your view to those results. With Web Finder, that actually will happen. So I'm on our blog, and let's say I'm looking for articles pertaining to Zoomtext 10, or I'm just looking for any result pertaining to Zoomtext 10. So I'll type that in and hit the Enter key.
Zoomtext 10 tips and tricks. Installing and activating. Heading to contains link.
Okay, so you can see that that's my first result there, and I can start navigating to the next results.
Many of you are eagerly anticipating your Zoomtext 10 has arrived. The wait is over.
Okay, so you can see it's going through every single result of Zoomtext 10 on the page. So that's one way you can very easily use Web Finder to just search for something on the page. I can start navigating through my results. I can start reading from it if I like. If it's a link, I can even execute the link, which we'll get into later. But I want to show you something a little bit more advanced. Like I said, this is the easiest way to use it. Just think of it as a find tool for your browser. But you can also refine what you're looking for. I mentioned the different web element types that you could search for. And if we click on the drop-down here, right now we're searching for all text results of Zoomtext 10 on the page. We can also search for headings, links, images, tables, lists, forms, and controls, which I mentioned before. Now, if I was just looking for articles about Zoomtext 10, and I had a good understanding of how web pages work, I would know that most likely those articles are headings. So the title of those articles are headings. So instead of seeing all these plain text results with Zoomtext 10 in the body of the article, I just want to get to the article. So I'll change this to headings, and now I'll click the next button.
Zoomtext 10 Feature Lead, Enhanced Web Finder, Zoomtext 10 Feature Lead, Zoomtext Recorder.
Okay, so you can see now we're just going through the headings, and these are actual article titles. So let's say I want to read this one on Zoomtext Recorder. I can choose to execute that link, which will then load the web page for me, all right? And the beginning of the article is probably another heading, so I'll click the next button again.
Zoomtext 10 Feature Lead, Zoomtext Recorder.
Okay, so there's the beginning of the article. Why don't we just start reading from there? So I'll click the App Reader button.
Zoomtext 10 Feature Lead, Zoomtext Recorder by Rebecca White on November 18, 2011.
So you can see that that was a quick and easy way for me to not only search our blog, but find what I was looking for by going through the headings and finding an article, executing the link, and then starting reading from the beginning of that web page. So that's one way you can use Web Finder. Search the page, refine your search by choosing a different web element type if the page is comprised that way, and most normally follow that convention, and then start reading from it. You know, much easier way to search and navigate the web. So that's one way. Another thing I want to mention before we get into kind of the list mode of Web Finder is that there are hotkey equivalents. So, for example, if we're on Google News, and let's say I don't know what I'm looking for, but I just want to scan through all of the news articles. Okay, all these article headings on Google News, or all these article titles, are headings. So I can use hotkeys to navigate through these headings. In this case, it's Control-H to start navigating through headings.
Top stories, ravaged and remade. Iraq is optimism growing on. Newt Gingrich's mouth. Facebook timeline. Golden Globe noms.
Okay, so you can see that I'm just navigating through all the headings here, and if I find an article I want to read, I can just click and execute. Control-Shift-H will go back in the opposite direction.
Optimism growing
on. So Control-H goes forward.
Facebook.
Control-Shift-H goes backwards. All right, so there's hotkey equivalents for all of these different web element types. Control-H for headings, Control-L for links, I for images, for example.
Bloomberg, Wall Street, The Guardian.
So you can see that this is going through all the image results. Control-Shift will go in the opposite direction for all of these. So I for images, T for tables, S for lists, F for forms. Again, Control-F, etc., Control-C for controls. So you have hotkeys to navigate completely around the web page, you know, just by using Web Finder. So again, you know, one easy way to do this is just hit Control-H, start going through all these results here, okay, and, you know, once you found what you wanted to read, again, you can click that Execute button, or you can hit Control-Enter, immediately opens that page. Web Finder is still running, so we can navigate to the first heading by pressing Control-H. I don't know if this page is going to load. It looks like our internet doesn't want to cooperate with us today, but that's okay. But again, using hotkeys is a very quick and easy way for us to just simply scan through a page. All right, the last thing I'm going to show you here is Web Finder, and I'm going to go to a little bit more of a complex web page like CNN. So CNN's web page has a ton of content on it. Lots of content, lots of links. I'm just scrolling through, and we're not even scratching the surface of all the information here. So this is pretty overwhelming. All right, if I was to use Control-H to go through all these headings, I'd probably be here for the rest of the day. So if we start Web Finder, all right, and you saw me go through, you know, typing in a search result, navigating through, using the hotkeys. Now I'm going to show you the list mode, which works a little bit more like the traditional Web Finder in Zoomtext 9.1. So this is going to list all of the web element types on the page. So all of those various items I showed you are going to show up here. There's 451 different elements on this page, whether they're links, images, headings, controls, etc. There's just a ton of content on the page. So in this case, if I'm looking for an article, it's going to be one of two things. Either it's going to be a heading or a link. Most likely it's going to be a link, so I'll choose links. So this cuts me down to about 350 results. All right, so I cut about 120 of them off, but there's still links like yes, no, close, links, et cetera, So I still need to refine my search a little bit more for what I'm looking for. So trying to think of what would be current today. I guess, I don't know, there's a lot of political stuff. So type in Newt Gingrich, for example. Well, I guess he's not on CNN's webpage. All right, let's see. I've been using Tim Tebow as a search result because that's all I've been hearing about on sports news and national news. So maybe we'll see if he comes up again. Yep, there's two articles relating to Tim Tebow. So we can do a number of different things here. One of which is I can choose to execute the link directly from here to bring me to the page. So I didn't have to go and search through CNN's entire page to find these two articles on Tebow. I just typed it in, and here are the two results. I can figure out which one I want to read. You can start reading from that part of the page, or if you want to see where it shows up, actually visually on the page, click on the Go To button.
Table is favorite actors.
Okay, so you can see that's the result. And NeoSpeech doesn't exactly know how to pronounce the last name. You can change that. That's actually one of our knowledge base articles. So if you don't like that or it doesn't say your last name right, check out our knowledge base. We do have an article on that. So there's my result. I can choose to go to the next one.
How Table has developed SAQB.
All right, and you can choose to execute or read that. So again, the list mode let me cut through all of those results on the page to find exactly what I was looking for. You don't even have to be looking at the actual web page itself. You can just be looking at the list view and find what you want. And then when you're on that article, start reading it. So that's Web Finder. Again, there's a lot to it. You can kind of use it in the basic way to just search for something, navigate through results, or you can use that list mode to kind of refine what you're looking for and just drill down to just the most basic information and really get through a complex web page by using that. Okay, so that concludes our feature demonstration. Just going to mention a couple other things before we open it up to Q&A. I have our sales and support hotlines listed there. Tech support is available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you have any questions on using the product, if you had any issues setting it up or running a feature, go ahead and give tech support a call. They can give you a hand with that. We do have dealers that resell our products worldwide. So if you go to our webpage, which is AI2 and click on the Dealers tab, they are listed by state here in the U.S. and country internationally. So they might be able to offer you some in-home assistance or training if you need that. Also various other assistive devices and software if you need it. So our dealers are listed there. This webinar we do twice a week, Mondays at 10 a.m., Thursdays at 3 p.m. This webinar will also be available on our website to view at a later time. I think that's basically it. So does anybody have any questions? And again, for those of you that might have joined late, I have everyone muted, so if you want to speak up, there's a button that says, like a raise hand button. Just click on that and I'll go ahead and unmute you. Otherwise, just type your question into the chat panel or the questions panel, and we'll pick it up there. Anybody have any questions this afternoon? I must have done a good job if nobody has any questions. Either that or I put you to sleep. I don't know which one, so maybe you can let me know. Hopefully I didn't put you to sleep. And one other thing I wanted to mention, so if you guys have questions afterwards that you just forgot to ask, or maybe you had trouble finding the questions at the chat panel, you can email learning@ai2 and that will go to the webinar staff, and we'll pick it up there. So if you just forgot to ask something during the webinar, you can always reach us that way. All right. Well, if there are no questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar for today. Thank you guys for attending. Hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you have a great rest of the afternoon. Thank you.